Welcome everyone to the Tuesday, November 25th, 2025 Tumwater City Council work session. We will go ahead and we can do roll call. I see that everyone is here except for Councilmember Swarthout. Oh, you are here, Councilmember Swarthout. You are you're on vacation though, correct? Okay, you made it. All right. So I don't see Councilmember Von Holt.
She's here. She's here. She just she couldn't log in, so she's on her phone.
Oh, all right. Okay. So with that, we will start the meeting. And the first item up is I want to welcome the Chehalis tribe, and they have been so generous. They were not here during the proclamation, and actually I was going to have Eileen read the proclamation, but she was, do you mind doing that again, or I can, sorry, I didn't think you were going to be here today. That's okay. That's okay. Kind of short notice. So, but anyway, we did the proclamation at the first of the month, but you were not able to attend, and so I wanted to make sure that the tribe got the proclamation in the month that we are recognizing American Indian Heritage Month. So I will go ahead and have the chairman say a few words, and whatever you would like to do. And then I will present you with, it's already on. It's already on. Yep. It's already on.
We want to thank you, for inviting us here today to be part of this meeting and the proclamation. Apologize for missing you at the first of the month. We had a big meeting for our tribe, but we want to present this flag back to you guys also. This is our Chehalis tribal flag. Sorry about that. My name is Chairman Dustin Klatouche, also. Very nice to meet you.
I'm Ariana Klatouche. I'm Brooklyn Klatouche.
This is Junior Miss Chehalis and Little Miss Chehalis.
Oh, very good. Very good.
I'm not sure where you wanted at.
Yep, that's great.
Back here? Yeah.
Out of the way.
So that's a flag we want to give to you guys. And,
thank you.
Thank you for the partnership and the hospitality, I'm sorry we didn't get to meet too much, but we appreciate everything you guys do for the city and the partnership with the tribe. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me on the screen. Awesome, right, cool. We've also brought you guys some salmon that we just caught this morning, some fresh salmon. That's one thing that I always do to thank everybody for the hard work that you guys are doing for your guys' community and our community. Fresh and caught this morning. Mary here will have them in the refrigerator for you guys, so for whenever you guys get back. If you're not going to be back, we'll gift it to somebody else, or she can. So, thank you so much for your guys' time and everybody else that's here also, to be here for this. And appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Partnership.
So real quick for the photo, if you guys can lower that down just a few inches, and then Madam Mayor, if you guys can get it, there we go.
Perfect. There you go. Wow.
Thank you.
Here's the proclamation, and thank you so much for your partnership and with all of the developments that you're doing in the southern part of our city. It's great to have you.
Can't wait to see what we do here in the 2026 in the future. So appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing again.
Great.
Thanks so much, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Wait, you know what?
Yeah, yeah.
We will do another one for sure.
You're on a trip. Thank you. All right, thank you so much.
Good.
We're good, thank you. Yeah, we don't make you happy.
Thank you guys online again.
if you want to.
Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody also. You guys have a great week with your guys' family. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, thank you.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you, sir. Good luck.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right, so I believe that the next item is Dan starting this off, or?
Dana?
No,
Dana?
Dana. Oh, is it Dana that's doing it?
I can introduce our guest?
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
Good evening, council. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Dana Bowers, Associate Planner. We have we have staff from the Intercity Transit Organization here that will be talking about their expanded project, transit expansion, transit system expansion. So without further ado, I have Emily Bergkamp, who's the Executive Director, and I have Rob LaFontaine. So please
You can come up to, either way, you can sit over there if you'd like, or?
All right, good evening, everybody. Already advanced the slide. Man, that's touchy. Okay. Maybe that's the cue to talk fast. Well, as was mentioned, Rob LaFontaine, Planning Deputy Director at Interstate Transit, joined by Emily Bergkamp, our General Manager. We were supposed to be also joined tonight by Nick Damaris, our Chief Communications Officer, but he's unavailable, and so you get us, but I got an upgrade for a partner, so I'm happy to have Emily here with us. So we've been out on a bit of a speaking tour. So if you've heard this presentation before, great. Kelly could probably give it at this point. But yeah, we are excited to be out and about, sharing with the community some of the work we've been doing. Sort of everything from 10 years ago to post-COVID to 2 months ago. And we'll walk through quite a bit of history here in just a matter of a few slides. Okay, so what's brought us to Tumwater this evening and the rest of the community is we're talking about a redesign of our transit system. But let's backpedal a little bit and figure out kind of what's brought us to this point. So we go back in history a little bit to 2015, 2016. Before my time at Intercity Transit, Emily was there, and I'm guessing she was about 12 or 13 years old. But during that time of our history, Intercity Transit had identified some financial challenges that were on the horizon, and some form of action was needed. So that began what was referred to as the Intercity Transit Road Trip, kind of a blast from the past for Mayor Debbie through all of this. In fact, I think you even have a picture coming up.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, because I started on Interstate Transit, I think, in like 2013, 2014, yeah.
So a very large outreach campaign was the road trip. 3,500 surveys, very, very extensive. The takeaways from that work, as we have shown here, more buses going more places more often. So that was really the sentiment of the community. What that evolved toward was a sales tax proposition, which was on the November 2018 ballot. And what's shown on the screen are the 9 elements or the improvements that were associated with that sales tax proposition. It passed by a comfortable margin, which was excellent. The community spoke kind of loud and clear that they were excited for transformational public transit here in the community, and so that's great. We were just getting kind of going on this list of 9 to-dos when 2020 struck and really kind of put a detour in the work we were doing and the work that everybody was doing. So it's taken a bit of time for us to get back to this place, but we're certainly excited to be back into the conversation, talking about expansion of transit service here in the community. So to run through the list real quick, there's a little bit of jargon there. So span and frequency, that's the essentially hours of operation that transit service runs and how frequent the bus comes. Number 3, service to new areas, somewhat self-explanatory. On-time performance is just investing in basically our schedule adherence so that our buses are reliable. Enhanced capital facilities, this has been an ongoing effort for quite some time. In fact, I just saw some email chatter today between our consultant engineers and the public works group here at the City of Tumwater about bus stop enhancements that are coming. So we're, despite the rain, out trying to pour concrete and make our bus stops bigger and better and more accommodating. Bus rapid transit, or BRT, we'll talk about that. Night owl service, enhanced commuter service, which is service between Thurston County and Pierce County, and then fare collection efficiencies. I think most folks know that intercity transit is a fare-free transit system, and I think it's probably assumed by some that the sales tax proposition in 2018 was there to kind of bring us to zero fare, but that wasn't exactly the case. There's a whole backstory behind that Debbie's nodding.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a whole fare conversation, but intercity transit remains a zero fare property until the time runs out. It's a pilot program. I don't remember the term on it, but it does have
2028.
2028.
We'll reevaluate it in 2028. We've been doing some work with some public surveys with customers to really learn from them about how this has impacted their lives, and we've gotten some really great information back initially. But yes, zero fare was more about we had really dated infrastructure, fare collection infrastructure that would have been very costly to replace. And when we did the analysis of how much we were actually receiving through the fare boxes, it was about 2% of our operating revenues. So at that point in time, Mayor Debbie will remember that the math didn't pencil out on that. So that's how we entered into the pilot.
Okay, so bringing us more to current, phase 3 of 3, our system redesign. Well, what about phases 1 and 2? We'll talk about those real fast. So in May of this year, May of 2025, we expanded some of our service span and frequency. We added capacity into our transit system. Many of the bus routes running later into the evening hours are more frequent. And so that kind of, we've done a ton of hiring. I think we just graduated another operator class. We're starting one yesterday, and we've just been a hiring machine. But that's getting us the resources we need to be able to deliver these 9 improvements. Phase 2 took effect in September of this year, so just a couple of months ago, and that was a modification to our commuter service up to Pierce County. That service is well used, and it's well talked about too. We get a lot of comments and feedback about that service. And I think what's been interesting for folks as I kind of dialogue is that portion of intercity transit service is supported financially by grant dollars through the state of Washington. And that's influential on how that service operates and so forth, and why it changes from time to time. And so I think we have an interest in talking to the state one of these days about trying to provide a little bit better financial playground for us to be able to provide that service, and that would be a bit more stable. So that was phase 2. So phase 3 is up next, slated for May of 2026. And this is where we would be implementing our new kind of BRT light line, adding some service to new areas. And so that's really what kind of prompts for the shakeup, if you will, the redesign of the rest of the bus routes. Kind of a big Jenga tower. You change one and they all fall down and kind of change them all. So investing in the corridor, in fact, we might even make that plural, corridors, has really been a big emphasis of this work. And what's shown on the screen is the major east-west corridor through the community. We have our Olympia Transit Center, our Lacey Transit Center. We're missing a Tumwater Transit Center, so maybe we can talk about that one these days. But what's at the backbone of this redesign of transit service is a route we're calling the 9X. And it's a frequent route going from West Olympia over into East Lacey, passing through our two major transit centers, 15-minute frequency all day long, with connections all across the board. And so even though our road network looks more like spaghetti than it does a grid, trying to maximize connections where we can. I know I'm in the wrong town, but bear with me. This is College Street over in Lacey. But I wanted to bring this forward because it shares one of the themes that we've been working on with this redesign of transit service. So if you're familiar with our service now, thank you. You know that the Route 64 runs up and down College Street every 30 minutes. Well, College Street's busy, and it's a very high traffic area. So we're pleased that this reallocation, redistribution of service allows us to double the service along College Street with two different routes. So which means for folks over there in Lacey who are trying to go up and down College Street, they'll have more frequency, but then also more options depending on how long they ride that bus beyond College Street. So kind of hitting that more often in more places. Back here in Tumwater, and I know this is kind of a busy map and colorful spaghetti. If your eyes pick it up, there's the bright green line running kind of from top to bottom of the map. And I should ask for a pop quiz, the major route that runs up and down Capitol Boulevard here, but I'll tell the answer, it's Route 13. We know you know, Debbie. So Route 13 is that bright green line, and within our proposal, it's expected to remain intact. However, we like to pull back the frequency of Route 13, and that's gotten the attention of some folks. However, we want to stress that while we want to pull the frequency back on the Route 13, it's because we want to bring in other routes to support it, kind of that shared frequency concept. So if you're standing at a bus stop along Capitol Boulevard, you would continue to see 4 buses an hour, just like you'd see today. However, one of those buses would be going to a different location. So this becomes one of those trade-offs. The 13 today, while it is frequent, it is limiting in just the direction that it goes. We know that Tumwater is unique in the sense that I-5 really bisects the community. And so if we were over here on the east side, but we desire to get to the west side, that requires a transfer of buses right now at the Labor of Industries office building. And so one of the things we're trying to bring forward in our redesign are combination of routes that allow for more one-seat rides. So for folks here in Tumwater, being able to get from east side of town over to the west side without a transfer and vice versa, which is meaningful for a whole bunch of reasons, students, workers, et cetera. We brought forward a term through this process that we ended up talking far more about than I ever thought we would. So interline is a transit term that doesn't often get talked about, but man, we've said that word a lot over the last few weeks. So what is an interline of bus routes? Well, I'm going to break a PowerPoint rule and read off my slide. Buses are often assigned to different routes during a single day. When this happens, it's often referred to as an interline. Most often, a bus interline occurs at the transit center or other significant location, arriving to the transit center as one route, then leaving as another. And so if you ride the bus today, you experience this. If you're on the Route 13 and you ride it into the Olympia Transit Center, you don't move your rear end, the number on the front of the bus will change, and you will be a 48, 66, 41, and you'll get to see a different part of the community. So we've been using Interlines for years and years, and through our redesign effort, we're kind of taking that up a notch, adding other Interlines, for example, the ability to get from the east side of Tumwater over to the west side and vice versa by interlining routes through labor and industry. So no more transferring between the 12 and the 13, just keep your fanny in place and the bus will go to the other side of town. So here's kind of a similar map showing those interlines. I know there's a lot kind of take in here. So if we were to look at kind of the dashed green line coming down Capitol Boulevard, it's showing all the places that bus will go once it travels down Capitol Boulevard over into West Tumwater, then up Little Rock, Prosper, Rural, Linwood, etc. So covering all the familiar places that transit serves today, but doing so with more of an emphasis on Wednesday Ride. I've decorated the map with our high school logos because students and families has been a really significant influence on a lot of this effort. And so I told this to our transit board when they met last week that while the COVID pandemic was certainly an unpleasant experience for all of us, it came with some lessons learned a little bit in the sense that intercity transit reached a point where we suspended all fixed route service for a period of about 10 weeks. And when the service was reintroduced in June of 2020, it was about a third of the service that we had provided up to that point. And so that was really an interesting time as it sort of forced, forced scarcity, into the equation. And I shared with our transit board last week that some of the first entities that kind of came forward and said, hey, we're looking for help, we're looking for more mobility, were parents, were school districts, because the schools kept on chugging along. More so, I mean, differently than state offices and such who handled the pandemic different. And so student mobility has been a big influence in a lot of this. We have heard time and time again from families who attend Black Hills. We're very, very aware of the hope to have transit service closer to Black Hills High School. In fact, to that end, we've been kind of following a lot of the development that's slated to occur down there in the southwest part of town, both south of Tumwater Boulevard and north of Tumwater Boulevard. This is exciting for us from a transit perspective as it brings the possibility of new roads, new roundabouts, new infrastructure, because one of my cliched sayings, we're only as good as the roads. And that's been our major limitation to bringing transit service to more of these places that are just on the outskirts. So while this redesign is exciting, we know we're not done. We know we have work left to do. Transit is dynamic in that sense, and so it'll be exciting when we be able to make these changes and bring service even closer to Black Hills High School than it is today.
I have a question, Rob.
Yeah, I just recognized you, Councilman Jefferson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm looking at the slide. It says Costco is considering and I can't see it. So can you read it for me?
So that would be the headline that I nabbed from the Olympian. Costco is considering a new store in Tumwater. City information shows here's the proposed site. So again, I just snipped that from the internet so we know it's true.
All right, thank you.
Costco, or bottom line, what we're following is just the development, however that shakes out. So with this map, and fear not, I'm almost done with maps. That's where you get wrapping the planner here. So the kind of pink shaded area, that is Intercity Transit's political boundary. It's our public transportation benefit area, and largely provides kind of that boundary of where we would aim to provide service. So the blue marks are indicative of all the areas that we are adding service through this redesign. So certainly up there in North Lacey, South Lacey, kind of the central part of Olympia. And then in Tumwater, the most notable certainly is Henderson Boulevard, from Yelm Highway down to Old Highway 99, and then the section of Old Highway 99 from the airport up to Tumwater Boulevard. And then we're going to make a modification to service. Again, for now, we know that things are fluid over kind of on the west side, but we currently have service on Israel between Little Rock and 11th or Lenderson. But bringing that service down to Tumwater Boulevard for the time being, it helps us circulate in and out of labor and industries a little bit better. Again, we know that service is likely to be modified at some point in the relative future as development continues to happen. What I wanted to draw out with this map is where our Dial-A-Lift service, so again, Dial-A-Lift is our ADA paratransit service. So to recap real fast, anywhere that we draw a line for fixed route service, there's a 3/4 mile buffer around that fixed route line, and that defines Intercity Transit's paratransit boundary, our Dial-A-Lift boundary. So anybody who is unable to reasonably access fixed route service is eligible for Dial-A-Lift. We see our Dial-A-Lift vans cruising all over the place. They're busy, but they're doing a wonderful service, providing that door-to-door mobility for individuals whose limitations prevent them from taking advantage of the fixed route service. So if I'm looking at my map in the lower left, that kind of dark gray blob, that's the buffer around Henderson Boulevard. And so I wanted to bring that to attention because 3/4 mile toward the south and east, that's going to provide quite a notable expansion of Dial-A-Lift access into like the Trails End neighborhoods and so forth. The boundary won't, capture, all of them, all the residents, but probably half or more. And then there are other expansions of our Dial-Lift service that I've noted up in Northeast Lacey, and then kind of North Lacey or Northeast Olympia. Throughout all this process, we've had a portion of our website dedicated to kind of home base for all this information. We're just at the tail end of our public comment and outreach system. A portion of this process, our transit board is hopefully going to consider final action on these changes at their meeting next week. So we skirted in here right at the last opportunity to say hello before Kelly and company at the transit board considers these in permanent ink. The website will remain active for a while, and in fact, it'll stay active all the way through our service change, so people can continue to find good information about how these changes are going to be impacting them. To walk through our timeline real fast, so we're in the red, and that's never a good thing to say, but that's where we are. We are just approaching board action, as I said, so wrapping up our conversation with the community, sharing the draft of these documents. We visited with our CAC, which is our Community Advisory Committee, last week, and they provided a unanimous thumbs up endorsement of this work that we've been doing. Yeah, we're excited to bring this to kind of a formal close to the design phase, and we get out of the red and into the black, which is implement. A change like this is massive for a transit agency. We're looking at well over 100 bus stops to be constructed, about 350 operators that have to be retrained, a lot of technology to get in alignment. So while the public might be excited for these changes to happen soon, those 5 months at Intercity Transit are going to fly by. But all said, Sunday, May 3rd is our target effective date. And then certainly I talked about the internal preparedness. We plan to be out and about in the community all over the place, helping folks be prepared for these changes. So I think it's my next to last slide. So again, looking at the list of those Proposition 1 elements on the left, this kind of walks us through some of the progress we're making. So I guess this would be our report card. I think we're doing pretty good. So phase 3, as I mentioned, that's where we are getting ourselves into the bus rapid transit space. It'll be quite some time before we're officially operating bus rapid transit by FTA standards, but we'll call it bus rapid transit light for now, and then service expansion to new areas. So really the only thing we kind of have left outstanding is figuring out a solution for that late night owl service. We've been continuing to run the night line in cooperation with Evergreen State College, but we'll see how what their appetite is to continue that service into the future, or possibly expand upon it. There we go. Made it to the end.
Any questions? Councilmember Althauser.
Prior to the ballot measure, that I think, in your point of view, did the ballot measure really stabilize the finances, like in terms of the fiscal health for IT? And if I recall, was it property tax or sales tax? Like, was it sales tax? Do you sort of envision, there's lots of consumer confidence issues nationwide right now. Washington and IT is very dependent upon sales tax for fiscal stability. What's your sort of read of the tea leaves for the health of the financial future of IT as you undertake really significant investments in services across the jurisdiction?
We're actually very, very fortunate that I think it was kind of a confluence of events that happened. So while we started receiving increased sales tax with the Prop 1 passing in November of 2018, we obviously saw a spike in our revenues after that. But when COVID hit, we were all very concerned, honestly, how that would play out financially. But it actually ended up playing out in our favor. So most folks were not traveling, they were spending locally, right? And so we saw increases in our revenue from that, as well as we had one-time COVID relief funding as well. So what that really allowed us to do was to make sure that we didn't have to lay off any operators, or that's the technical term for driver. And one thing, it was to make sure that they could have stability to count on as far as their employment. But also, it's a really big investment for us when we train operators how to drive a bus. And folks come to us, they don't have to have a commercial driver's license. We actually really focus on them having customer service skills first. And then we help them get their commercial driver's license. So it's quite an investment. They also go through a 10-week training to learn all the routes and customer service and everything like that. So right now, we're probably in the healthiest financial position that we've been in a very long time since I've worked there. I've been there it's coming up 22 years in February. And so to be here, it feels kind of surreal, I'll be honest, because we've always struggled, because one thing that I think we'll continue to struggle with, and we rely on about 30 to 40% of our funding coming through the state and the federal grant programs and formula funding. And as we know, the state grant is still, or state finances are still struggling. We're ready to enter that the session supplemental budget soon. And then, of course, with the federal government, it's just kind of an unknown right now, honestly, as far as how that's going to play out. We were really lucky. We were informed just last week that we received grant dollars through the Bus and Bus Facility Program. 5339 is the federal pot, and to replace 16 coaches over the next 2 years. So that is a really good sign for us, because we have been really concerned about how that's going to play out in the years to come. So, but I think that we've learned in transit never to count on a sure thing. And so what we're really focusing on right now is putting aside those dollars, that one-time funding that we got and that increased sales tax, fulfilling the promises that we've made to the community, while also making sure that we have the necessary funds, that if we were ever not to have grant funds through the state or through the feds, that we would be able to have a plan for that in a long-term capital plan that we have right now too. So, so we're doing well, and it's great to be able to be at this point where we can fulfill some of these promises from that passing. So, yeah.
First, Councilmember Jefferson, then Councilmember Doha.
Michael took my question, Mayor.
Okay. Awesome. All right, Councilmember Doha.
Thank you, Mayor. Great slides, great presentation. Thank you, I appreciate that. And then one of your slides brought a question to my mind regarding Costco. And I noted that that article was dated last year, December. So maybe this is more for the Mayor, Administrator Parks. Do we actually have an update from Costco on their location?
We have been, our staff has been working with Costco over the last several months. I do not believe they've actually submitted an application yet, but they are close to submitting an application. So yes.
So they do want to stay in Tumwater? Because I've been getting those questions.
Yes. Yes, they do.
Great update. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Swartza.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate how you've been here listening to the people in the community as far as extending the bus service down Henderson will be very exciting, and then out through Black Hills, and just having more opportunities for people. And I really hope that the buses are full and that we have lots. It really does increase your ridership, so we can put our money where where we keep saying that we needed it there. So I just hope that it proves that for you, and that we really do see an increase in the ridership. So it's exciting to see all the dots, and to figure out, I might actually get on your bus and figure out how to get to both sides of town. So it looks really exciting. So thank you for all the work on this. So.
East-West travel in Tumwater on the bus is coming soon. And
we have bus buddies who can help you get across town.
We do. And
I think I'll need a bus buddy.
We can hook you up. I have been riding the bus off and on for years now, and I will say that ridership is really healthy. You know, sometimes it's hard to tell because at certain times of day, we definitely have busy times and low points. But I will say that our ridership is really healthy. In fact, I think we're about ready to crest over 5 million rides.
We're getting close, right? Yeah.
So,
5 million a year.
Yeah. And one thing too, a silver lining around zero fare too, is not only was it an issue of equity, but it really keeps our on-time performance really healthy. So you can't imagine the amount of time it would take for people to do the pocket pat down, as we used to say. And even with smart card readers in the ORCA system, there's still time that takes for that transaction there at the front. We also have new transit ambassadors. So we have about a half a dozen folks that ride buses on a daily basis to help passengers with issues as they arise, or any issues that the driver might need help with. And we're hoping to expand that program next year to hopefully close to a dozen. But what we found is that transit agencies all over the United States are implementing transit ambassadors to just make that experience of riding transit that much better, so that way drivers spend less time worrying about, issues that might arise, or passengers being, confused about where they need to transfer and things like that. And we really rely on our transit ambassadors. So a great addition to our service, and it'll really come in handy as we do the redesign. And I will say, I'm just going to brag on Rob for just maybe 30 seconds, he has been incredibly busy, not only reviewing data that we had from the road trip, but information, qualitative and quantitative data that we've gotten not only from customers, but from our ridership, to really put together an incredible redesign that focuses on equity. Also, we have a lot of data at our fingertips now to show us where the folks live that need our services the most, not only from a financial standpoint, but from a lack of being able to drive or lack of owning a car. And so Rob's team has just done an incredible amount of work, and what we have here, I think we're all very proud to stand behind. No, lots of hands.
I do have another question. I have another question.
One moment, Councilmember Jefferson. I got Councilmember Agabi, then Councilmember Swartza, then Councilmember Von Holtz, and then Councilmember Jefferson.
Gotcha.
So go ahead, Councilmember Agabi.
Thank you, Mayor. So just a quick clarification. So the proposed route would be Henderson Boulevard from 99 to Henderson?
the new route that we would be introducing, which we're calling the Route 70. So it terminates, if you will, at the Labor and Industries office building. It would travel east toward Old 99, south on Old 99 to Henderson, and then Henderson all the way up Boulevard Road, and then terminate at the Lacey Transit Center.
Okay. So, because I was going to say that would make a lot of sense if you come off 99W and go Henderson, because you already have a bus route that kind of turn around by that DOH parking lot structure. I think that's Bonnywood, and that bus is always empty. So you could put that bus to go down Henderson all the way down north of Henderson and connect with the bus that goes to Olympia Transit Center that come off wherever that bus is coming from, or have it go Yam Highway. So most of the this area where, for lack of better geographical direction, that's where you have all those newer homes and a bunch of single homes in this area. So your ridership is going to be more robust if you're going to the arterial road from 99W, Henderson, Yam Highway, because you already have a bus that that comes from Olympia. And then if you want to, that bus can go west of Yam Highway to go to downtown Olympia. So essentially it's making a loop.
That's true.
Great. Thank you. Councilmember Swarthout and then Councilmember Von Hope.
Thank you. I like the idea when you're talking about the rider ambassadors. I think it was last year, a couple of years ago, they had a forum where they had all the different transportation people together. And one of the exercises that we had to do is we had a baseball team that we had to get from Tumwater to downtown, down to the stadium in Seattle, and we had to take public transportation. And you know, all the people that are really good with their phones and everything, and you had some of your inner city transit people there, they just could blow through it real fast, and they knew where the bathrooms were and the snacks and the best places to stop and everything. And, you know, me never having done this before, it was real intimidating, but it would be nice to be able to figure out, because I know a lot of people take the bus to the airport, or figure out how to take public transportation to the airport. So it would be nice to have those kinds of classes for those of us who want to put our toe in the water and not take our own cars up. And so I appreciate having classes or rider ambassadors that will help figure those, for those of us who are a little nervous and figuring out how to make that work. So thank you for having that program.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Councilmember Von Hope.
Thank you, Mayor. Emily, Rob, it has been such a pleasure to be a part of Inner City Transit, to be a part of the board. When I was growing up, my mom did not drive, and so we rode the bus everywhere. And so if a bus didn't go there, we didn't go there. So connecting, as Eileen said, it is wonderful to see all of those dots on the maps. And as we continue to connect those dots, we are connecting our communities and allowing people who maybe don't drive or don't have an access to a vehicle to really feel like they are part of the community and they're not isolated. So I really appreciate all the work that Inner City Transit is doing for our community. Thank you.
Councilmember Jefferson, did you have?
Yes, I did, Mayor. I like the free fare. This is the first community that I've lived in that has a free fare. Can you envision going back to paying fares?
It would be quite an undertaking to do that. So number one, we no longer have fare boxes or really any fare collection technology at all. When we looked at replacing our very aging infrastructure back in, 2018, it was close to $3 to $5 million just to replace that, along with about $1 million a year for upkeep and maintenance. And that was in 2018. I'm sure that we add, quite a bit for inflation on top of that. as well as we would need to invest more time in training the operators on all the different fares. If you had seen our fare chart before we went zero fare, it was like a choose your own adventure book, which I loved those as a kid, but it's really not that helpful when you're driving a bus and you're trying to figure out, oh, how much is an Evergreen, or I need to pay attention to the sticker on their student ID and all that good stuff. So it would be a really big transition for us to go back to that and a financial investment. So, you know, we've gotten a lot of feedback from the community, just like you just said, that it makes it just so much easier. People don't need to worry about having a fare, and especially right now with the cost of living that folks are really struggling with, you'd be surprised $2.50 can make or break someone who's really struggling. So, but that's really up to our board, right? They get to make that decision at the end of the pilot, but we will certainly keep you apprised of how that's going.
Excellent. Thank you both. Great briefing.
If I could just dovetail slightly on that, Emily mentioned it helps with our on-time performance. So for transit systems that collect a fare, generally speaking, all passengers will board through the front of the bus, which can create a line, you know, and force kind of that cash transaction to happen. Meanwhile, motorists are queuing up behind the bus. And so in a fare-free environment, both sets of doors of the bus open up. Our dwell times at stops are down in the single digits of seconds, you know, unless there's a mobility device or a bike or something of that nature. But it allows us to really be speedy as we're, you know, not speeding, but quick as we're getting through town. Some of the bus stop enhancement work that we're doing, and I mentioned earlier, we're increasing the size of our transit zones. And a lot of that is because of the fare nature, that the back door of the bus is now kind of the primary access point, you know, ingress and egress. And so making sure that our transit zones are capable of accommodating all that traffic, you know, through both sets of the doors. So yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of fans on the inside of the walls of Interstate Transit who want to go back to fare.
You know, and one other thing I might add to that too, because of when I was on there when we did zero fare, we did the discounted bus passes for nonprofits and that. So when we didn't require them, and it was a discount of half price for that, that was money that they did not have to spend on bus passes, and then could contribute that funding back into direct services. So that even helped all the nonprofits that were providing transportation and bus passes. And so it was a huge win for them also, and for their clients. And it's the same clients that ride the bus today, and they just don't have to go through the hassle of trying to get a bus pass.
And from a safety perspective, you know, some of the main reasons why bus drivers or our operators end up dealing with assaults is over fare disputes. And so it really is a protective measure. And it's something that the FTA has asked us to look at, is to make sure we're taking every opportunity to keep our operators safe, which I think at Intercity Transit we have a really strong dedication to. And that is also an added layer of, you know, a protection for them, that they just don't have to worry about having those types of interactions. So, yeah.
You can tell I was a big fan of the zero fare. I was so excited. Any other questions or comments? All right, well, thank you. And I did want to
thank you.
Give you a
yay. I was looking forward to this.
What they really wanted was salmon, but you can have
Absolutely. Thank you. And just thank you, Mayor Sullivan, for always being so supportive. And Kelly is just an awesome addition to the board. And so, but thank you. I know you were on the ITA for almost a decade, actually. Yes. So you were an integral part of a lot of this decision-making process. So thank you. And we wish you all the best as you ride off into the sunset. Yeah. So, yeah.
Ride the bus off into the sunset.
There you go. Yeah. She rides horses too, though. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. So I believe the next item we're dealing with is Council Position 1 selection process. And
thank you, Mayor. I'm going to start this conversation just real quick, and then I'm going to hand it over to Karen, and I'll explain that here shortly. So, congratulations to Councilmember Dahlhoff. She's been elected the new mayor, and that will begin on January 1. But because her council position is midway through its tenure, she will be resigning that position, and that council position is vacant then at the first part of the year. So the statute doesn't necessarily provide a whole lot of guidance other than it is a qualified person is until a qualified person is elected, the governing body makes an appointment to fill that position. So what Tumwater has done typically in the past is to use an application and interview process to select a person to fill that vacant position. There is a timeline associated with the council action. In the statute, the city council actually has 90 days from the effective date of the vacancy to fill that position. If you aren't able to do that, it gets passed off to the county commissioners, and then 180 days, it can even go to the governor if there is a lack of an appointment. But so there is a timeline associated with this process, so we wanted to get going on it as quickly as possible. So essentially what we've done is we've provided in your packet the documents that were used in the most recent process, which was when Councilmember Jefferson was initially appointed back in 2021. Our staff has updated the graphic information, and you will see that on the process and timeline attachment, there's a bunch of yellow highlights. So what we need from the council tonight is direction on the specific timeline for the process. Those are the highlighted sections in the process document that we need to fill out. And then we'd also like your input on if you would like to have any changes to either the application form or to the list of interview questions. I am going to be on vacation starting a week from tomorrow. So Karen is going to be here. I'm going to be gone for basically the first half of December, and then it's Christmas time. So Karen has agreed to take this process forward from here so that she can be of assistance and be guiding that the initiation of this process through early parts of December. So with that, I will pass it off to Karen, and she can take it from here, unless there's any questions of me. Awesome. There you go.
Good evening. Yes, in your packet is the process that we've used in the past, along with previous questions and the application. And so so the first thing is to determine if this is even still the process that you would like to use. We've used it several times over the years, and it's worked, as far as I can tell, well. But the first question would be if this is even the process that you'd like to use. Secondly, is the timeline. And I know that we've had at least one request to pursue a pretty aggressive timeline to get a council member on board in January. And I've put together some dates. It's the fastest possible schedule that we could come up with would be to get someone appointed and sworn in at the January 20th council meeting. But that does mean quite a lot of work over the holidays and would most likely entail a special meeting on Saturday, January 10th, in order to do interviews. So I can give you those dates if that's something. I see some heads nodding, but I can provide those dates if that type of schedule is of interest to you. Otherwise, we can also talk about pushing it out further. And then finally, if we did do that, we would need to get your comments back about the application and the interview questions by Tuesday, December 2nd. We would need to get this back on your agenda next Tuesday for you to approve the dates and the questions and all of that. So I did see heads nodding, so what I'm going to I'm going to let you know, we would be looking at putting this on consideration Tuesday the 2nd, publishing the notice and posting the opening on December 8th. Applications would be due back right before Christmas on December 22nd. That would give us some time to work with the auditor's office behind the scenes, getting the information we need. And then the packet would be available to council members by January 2nd. And if we needed to narrow the candidate pool, we would have that first meeting in January to do that. And then, as I said, a special meeting on January 10th, and then appointment and swearing in of the new council member on January 20th. And I see Councilmember Dahlhoff has her hand up.
I forgot to lower. I was just waiting until you're done.
No, those were all the dates. And I'm happy to get those out to you in writing, so that you don't have to jot them down, but I wanted you to hear that out loud and even see if that's something you want to entertain.
Yeah, the thought process that I was having is we normally have a retreat the end of January, beginning of February. So if we still want to do that, I think we should have a full council doing that. And so I like this timeline. The only thing I have with the packet is removing the gender, just doing a Control F. I think in the last item, there was some gender in there, just make it gender neutral because that's the direction we've been going. But I'm great with the questions. They're the same questions I had like in 2018. Angela's had them. Like, I like the questions. It's really holistic. And then you still have space for council to ask any clarifying questions. So I don't have any major edits, and I'm in support of this timeline.
I don't know who's.
Councilmember Swarthout.
My only question would be, we're looking at the week of, as far as what work is involved for staff as far as the week of the 29th, as you're talking about the packet part, and having candidates available. We would know who the candidates are on the 6th. So I'm just curious as far as like what you guys have to do behind the scenes and what leave people that are going to be available if you're planning leave for Christmas that week between Christmas and New Year's type of thing. How does it affect staff? I just want to take that into account.
We behind the scenes, we need to work with the auditor's office to verify home addresses and do some things like that. I'm going to be here. And from what I understand, we will also have folks from the clerk's office here to assist. And we've confirmed that the auditor's office is working all but Christmas Day. So as far as I understand, albeit this is a very tight timeline, we think we can probably make it happen.
Councilmember Gabi.
Thank you. So since I didn't go through the first iteration of choosing a council member, these questions, while I think they serve the purpose, I think they should be specific. What I mean by specific is I would like to see questions about how does that person work with a diverse group of people. And I want concrete example. And how does that person work in a situation where they don't necessarily agree with the decision that's been made? So I want questions that actually speak to that, ask of the potential council member. And when we do the interview, that will be figured out, because those key, in this past 6, 7, 9 months, we've had a bunch of situations that I think if we had a lot of interrelational, what's what I'm looking for? Well, I'm not going to preach, but I do want to see questions that touches on interrelational in how we deal with ourselves. Because that person is going to be a council member. And then secondly, I think the timeline that you laid out, Karen, that timeline is hyper fast. I would want this process to be more deliberate. Therefore, if it's going to be deliberate, the council member, we have 180 days, right? So we're not in a hurry. 180 days, but how many months is that? I don't know. I want that council member to be seated maybe around March. So we're going to have to go through a deliberate process. That's my 2 cents.
So we'll go to Councilmember Kathy, then I'm going to go to Councilmember Althauser, then Councilmember Dahlhoff. Councilmember Kathy? Are you having difficulties?
I forgot what
there you
go. The part of what Peter said brought to mind that I would like to hear more about how people like to know more about them and their personality and how they do deal with situations, something a bit more personal. I would prefer more to trend that way than what they think of the comprehensive plan. If we can come up with some other way to ask questions that we know that, they're on board with who we are and what we want to do. Every time I hear those questions, I think, I'm not sure I could answer that question about the comprehensive plan. And then they end up giving something quite general anyway. So if we think about what it is we're wanting to get on that level, not necessarily a personal question, but one of our business question, I think that would be helpful than just a big, huge general question about a comprehensive plan. And I would like to know about how it's hard to do in the length of time we have and the way what we have to do. I mean, what we need to put on a form like this. But I would like to know more, how they deal with people, how they react and what they think about groups and what happens if something that they really, really want doesn't pass. How do they act? How would they take that? And I don't know. I think we've done a fairly good job of making it work. If you see the people that are on council right now, but I do think there's some improvements that we could make, and maybe that's in the questions we asked too. That's more than my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
I'll go to Councilmember Althauser, and then Councilmember Dahlhoff had her hand up.
Joan, you're breaking my heart about our beautiful comprehensive plan. That
it just doesn't happen to be top reading material for people. That's all.
Yeah, but what if we instead asked how many times have you read the comp plan? And there's a minimum. No, I'm kidding. The one, I won't be around for this process, but the one suggestion that I would have about the interview, I think the application questions look great. The one suggestion I'd have about the interview questions is question number 8. I think our evolution has sort of evolved since the drafting of that question. It talks about changes to the way we police communities and uses some language that says hold offenders accountable, and I think our sort of effort to use people first language has sort of shifted away from using pejoratives like offenders and could instead say something like police our communities and keep people safe, which I think would convey the same thing without as pejorative of a piece of nomenclature. is what you see is the city's role in addressing racial justice. I think these are actually two separate questions. When we originally drafted that, this was in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd, and when we were asking these questions, and I think since then, as a city, we've taken really important steps to expand our thinking about racial justice and its impact in all the work that the city does, not just in the sector of policing. So I think really the first half of 8 could really stand on its own in terms of asking about philosophy around community-based policing and public safety. And you could really have a separate question entirely just about, what do you see as the city's role in addressing racial justice generally, not just in policing? I'd love to see a question about what people think about housing and how to address homelessness in here too. That's really risen to the fore since we last went through this process, even more so. I mean, it was obviously a huge issue then, it's an even bigger issue now, but I think we might have too many questions if you add in a new one there and split this up. But I won't be participating in this process other than watching it from afar with a smile on my face. My 2 cents, so thank you really.
So I had, I think Councilmember Dollhoff, you've gone up and down, so I'll go next, and then I'll go Councilmember Von Holst. Councilmember Jefferson, did you still have a question because your hand came?
I do.
Okay, so, all right, so I'll go Councilmember Dollhoff, Councilmember Von Holst, and Councilmember Jefferson.
Thank you, Mayor. I like all the suggestions of zhuzhing the questions, so that's great. I just want to go back to Peter's comment about waiting 3 months. It gave me heart palpitations because I won't be on all my assignments, and I have a significant amount of assignments. And so we do those in December. Like we start fleshing that out in December. You're going to be getting your top 3. What do you want? And so I don't want to wait 3 months because we still have to do the retreat. We have to do all this work, right? Like I want to keep that momentum that Debbie and Lisa have been doing. So I don't want to wait 3 months. I like the aggressiveness because if something does happen, we have flexibility to alter it, right? So that's where I'm at. And I'm totally in support of zhuzhing the comments based on what Michael, Joan, and Peter have said. I just don't want to wait 3 months because who's going to handle all the assignments? Like, I'm not going to assign them all to you, Peter, unless you want them all.
Could you define the word zhuzhing? What exactly?
Like a beef-based broth or a dip for sandwiches.
Oh. What is it? When you say that word, what do you mean?
I mean, like zhuzhing. It's ZHUZH. Zhuzhing, like updating, like zhuzhing.
Like what? What is that? What is that? You said you liked that part. Is that the part where Michael and I were saying, we'd like to know more what people think?
Yes, you're gonna zhuzh the questions, like you're gonna update them. You're gonna zhuzh them.
I thought it had to do something with content, like zhuzhing was how I feel about something. Is that right? No?
You can add a glossary to the council rule. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we just did it because I can just hear accidentally, Leetta saying to someone, we'd like you to zhuzh that up a little bit and tell us more. And somebody'd be like, what? No use of word.
I'll go to Councilmember Von Holst.
Thank you, Mayor. I do like Councilmember Agabi's recommendation, and Councilmember Kathy and Councilmember Althauser and Mayor-elect Dollhoff's zhuzhing. I think we could update the questions, make them more people first, and really get to learn about our future seatmate. I love all that. And I'm also in agreement that we do need to keep an aggressive schedule because Mayor-elect Dollhoff is on a lot of things that we all are not going to be able to take on. So, and I just want, it feels good when you're not brought in way in the back of everyone else. And so I like the idea of having our new seatmate being able to attend our retreat, and so we can hit the ground running and get to work on all this great things we're going to be doing for our community members.
Councilmember Jefferson?
Yes, I agree with the aggressive timeline. And also what Kelly just said, we can better assess their problem solving skills and teamwork. So that is all.
I'm sure Karen will get back with you if there's something that needs clarification, but I foresee more conversations.
So I will try to work on the questions based on the comments that I heard, and we will put a schedule consistent with what I mentioned earlier, and that will come to you in your packet on Tuesday the 2nd for you to approve. Okay, thank you very much.
Great. All right, our next item is Mayor City Administrator report, and I'll start out with City Administrator Barr.
Great, thank you, Mayor. A couple of actually quite a few quick things, but I promise I won't keep you very long. So, Fire Department is going to have another recruitment event on December 3rd. That's been a really successful way in which they've been able to create a list that really gets them an opportunity to hire folks as that need arises. There's a couple of really cool things obviously happening around the holidays. So the Santa stops are beginning. The first one is next week, December 3rd at the golf course, and our website has got all of those outlined very clearly. The Parks and Rec office on December 10th, and then the Tumwater Fire Department here on December 17th. We're not going to be stopping in neighborhoods. These are indoor locations at this point, and we are asking folks for non-perishable food and monetary donations. We are working collaboratively as a staff to promote giving to the Thurston County Food Bank, and then also working with the Tumwater School District as well. The Christmas tree lighting is Saturday, December 6th from 1 to 5:30. That's going to be a lot of fun. There is a schedule of wonderful choir and band performances for various schools in our area. The light switch goes around 5:35, I believe it is, on the tree out front. We've had staff working hard, getting ready for all of those festivities. And then we were able to, in our Tumwater on Tap, there's a recognition that there is, or notification that businesses and multifamily property owners can apply to the State Department of Commerce for grants for installing EV charging stations. That program is open until December 18th. So if you know of anybody who might be interested in that, they can link to our Tumwater on Tap. There's actually in the November e-newsletter, we've got a link to that program. The community survey that we did earlier this year, now that we've kind of gotten through the really busy season, the communications staff has been working on trying to create a web page that allows us to provide the results of that community survey out to the community. They're doing a great job of highlighting some of the things that we learned through that process. And then last thing, we are closed Thursday and Friday this week. And we are wishing, as staff, we wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving holiday, and I hope you have time to spend with friends and family over this important time. That's all I have.
Great. I just wanted, as Councilmember Swarthout may be familiar with this date, that in November 25th in 1869, the city of Tumwater was created, and so today is the 156th anniversary of Tumwater. And so I just wanted to, it came to my realization as I have a proclamation in my office and all the other stuff that I definitely did not want to miss mentioning that today. And I will mention this again at the council meeting, but remember that on December 9th, our work session, that is a joint work session with the Planning Commission. That joint session will start at 6:30. The Planning Commission has something that they have to do, a public hearing they have to do at 6 o'clock. So our joint meeting will start at 6:30. And again, I will remind everyone at our next meeting. So with that, I do, just remember, please let Brittany know how you're going to get your gift from the Chehalis tribe. And so with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
So the salmon is too large.